And welcome here to TalkFCB, and welcome back to the channel here today, guys. And what was that? I just don't understand. What are we seeing here? You know, what is going on at Barca right now? Okay, we had the defeat against PSG in midweek. It can happen. It's the Champions League. You're playing against a very, very good team with good players. You can lose that game 2-1. That's okay. This is a big game at the weekend here now. We're up against Sevilla, who are, let's be honest, before this game they were a mid-table team. We spoke before the match about the fact they spent €250,000 in the summer. This is not the Sevilla of old, and they destroyed us. They absolutely wiped the floor with Barca today. 4-1, it's finished. Does that flatter Sevilla? Is that a scoreline there that really doesn't reflect the game? No, it actually isn't. I actually believe here Sevilla could have easily scored more goals today. It could have been 4-1 just after the first half alone. So 4-1 does not flatter Sevilla. Barca are shocking. Now, this is not exaggerating right now. This was a horror show of a performance. The defence, it didn't exist today. You know, the high line, the style of play, the intensity, none of it worked. There was none of it out there. Barca today were absolutely appalling. It was an appalling performance. So let's just talk about it. Let's run through some of the moments of the match and let's try and understand what on earth is going on here? Because in terms of the starting lineup, I mean, you know, you can't really ask too much more in terms of the personnel that were out there. Obviously, right now we do have some injury problems, sure, but every team has injuries right now. We're not, you know, in an exclusive club. We're not the only team that have injuries. And yeah, you look at the players that were out there, you look at the quality that should be on show. Barca should not be losing this game 4-1 against that Sevilla team out there. No chance at all. Sevilla have not beaten Barca or hadn't beaten Barca for 10 years, by the way. So the players out there should have been good enough to do an awful lot better. And can I just say, first of all, what you saw out there today, that's an atmosphere, by the way. You look at the stadium, you look at the stands today, you listen to the noise inside that stadium. That is an atmosphere. That is playing at home. That is making your home stadium a fortress. Compare that, by the way, to what we saw against PSG at Montjuic in midweek. It's night and day. It is absolutely two completely different types of atmospheres. This is how you support your team. But let's be honest today, guys. Barca were just dreadful. From the very first minute, it wasn't as though, we had a spell in the game where we were on top and then we got hit against the run of play. From minute 1 to minute 90, we were just shocking. You know, we were never, ever really in this game. You know, we had a few chances here and there. You've got to just say, first of all, what a goal Marcus Rashford scored. It's a brilliant pass to him there, picked out by Pedri. Rashford on the volley. He was the only one really today who had those chances in front of goal. And of course, in the second half, big chance, of course, at 2-1 for Robert Lewandowski from the penalty spot. But what I don't want to do here is say that, if Lewandowski had scored, yeah, it could have been a different game. But let's not excuse the performance. You know, whether Lewandowski scores there or whether he doesn't, for me, it doesn't matter. I would rather actually not paper over the cracks here, because even if we'd have escaped with a point today, that was awful. And if we continue to play in this way, if we continue to see the defensive line this way, if we continue to see the lack of intensity, the lack of pressure on the ball, this would have just happened again anyway. You are going to lose against many, many teams if you play like this on a weekly basis. They were just shocking. And you know, one of the worst parts, you know, for me, looking at this game, looking at the first half in particular, yes, Sevilla started quickly, they had chances there, they had balls flashing across our own box, and every single time you thought, okay, Barca in a minute, they're going to wake up. In a minute, you know, one of these chances Sevilla have, they're just going to spring a bit of life into Barca, and they're going to think, okay, you know, let's cut this out, let's stop, let's learn from what we're doing. At no point did anyone react. It was almost as though we just waited for Sevilla to score. They missed chance after chance after chance. Of course, they took the lead. It was through a penalty kick that was given away by Araujo. And I think straight away here, you've got to say, Araujo gave us a bit of a mountain to climb. It's such a stupid penalty to give away, in my opinion, because the first thing I'd say is, they're going nowhere. Sevilla here are actually running the ball away from goal, out of play. Szczesny there has got the near post covered. If you're Araujo in this situation, if you use a bit of intelligence, if you use your head here to look at the situation, don't touch them. Don't put your arms up. Don't start grabbing the player. Don't put yourself in a really precarious situation as a defender. But we've seen this many, many times from Araujo. He acts first and he thinks second. It's a really, really stupid decision to give away, or at least give the ref the chance to give the penalty, because I wouldn't say it's the most obvious penalty ever, but you just know if you give the chance to the referee, to the VAR to give that against Barca, they are going to take it. If you walk into that trap, they are going to give the penalty against us. And of course, Alexis Sanchez, former Barcelona player, steps up from the spot, sends Szczesny the wrong way. Sevilla then have the lead, and they never look back. You know, like I say, in that first half, they had chance after chance after chance. They looked to build from that goal. The amount of space that we gave them in behind. I mean, I know we saw this highline from Barca last season. We saw teams there getting chances. But what we mostly saw, don't forget, last season, was a lot of chances that teams had, but then after, they'd be flagged offside. You know, you'd see teams run through on goal, have their chance, score a goal, but it would be disallowed. It would be pulled back. Now we're just seeing teams run in behind, get those chances, and we are not catching them off. Teams are getting time, they're getting space. I mean, you look at Sevilla's second goal. First of all, Koundé is dispossessed. Now, you could argue about whether that was a foul. In my opinion, Sevilla just wanted every ball more. You know, that might be a foul, it might be on the verge of being one, I don't really know. But Sevilla were there. Every tackle, every challenge, every 50-50, they wanted it more than what Barca did today. And that goes for every player, not just Koundé. I thought he was awful, to be honest, but I thought many Barca players were awful today, especially in that back line. Because then look at Sevilla. I mean, look at the amount of room there. The defence is non-existent. You cannot lose the ball, you know, sort of on the halfway line, and then that's your opponent's route to goal. Because in all of Sevilla's moves today, it wasn't as though they were just putting together incredible passages of play, you know, whipping the ball around and, you know, passing it with such precision. It wasn't as though they were doing anything phenomenal to get their chances. It was easy. You know, I think it could have been any team out there today. Like I say, Sevilla, with all due respect, they're not a fantastic team in La Liga this season. They haven't been for several years now. They had a really, really poor campaign last season. Any team today would have had joy against what Barca showed. You know, the amount of times they made their way in, they could have had 4, they could have had 5 at half-time. Somehow, we went in only 2-1 down. I mean, that in itself was a miracle. And even then you're thinking, can we rescue the game? And in my opinion, I wouldn't have actually waited if I was Hansi Flick until half-time to make changes. You know, we made 2 changes there right at the beginning of the second half, but I think Araujo should have been off before the half-time whistle. I've got to be honest with you. I think we kept him out there out of sympathy. His performance was absolutely erratic at the heart of our defence. Balde comes on as well, alongside of Eric, of course. But I just think it seemed like almost a formality. It almost seemed as though at some point Sevilla, they're going to get more chances. And yeah, we had that penalty chance with Lewandowski. It could have been very, very different there. Rooney Bardghji came on. He had a really, really good chance in front of goal as well. He was denied by the goalkeeper there. Wasn't really able to get too much power on the finish. There was a few half chances here and there. Can we talk about Olmo again? Has he forgotten how to play football? You know, that's the way that it looks to me. Every time that I see him recently, you're asking for more, you're wanting more, you're demanding more if you're Hansi Flick. He's doing nothing. I mean, he is doing literally nothing. Almost worse than nothing. If anything, it would just be better if he wasn't there. You know, he's actually disrupting play. He's actually making some really bad decisions and disrupting attacks. It would be better if he was just not out there at all. Let's just play with 10 instead of playing with Olmo right now. That is how bad he actually is. And I just think you look at the latter stages of this game. Barca, of course, yes, they're pushing forward to try and score, but look at the space. I mean, teams just can't defend. You cannot defend like this. I understand if there's full pressure on the ball. I understand here if the high line is absolutely meticulously organised like it was last season. But that's not the case anymore. You know, we can't keep living in the past here thinking, oh, the high line, it'll come good. Not when you're playing like this. Not when you are giving teams this amount of time to pick passes. When people there are able to make clear and obvious runs in behind. And it's almost at times they're queuing up in Barca's half there. They're all making runs. It's an easy ball across the box. We saw the same thing against PSG. When Hakimi was left in all of that space, he finds Gonzalo Ramos. It's an easy goal. And it was exactly the same against Sevilla here today. And that's what I mean, guys. It doesn't matter who you're playing. It doesn't even matter about the quality of the opposition. If you give any kind of top-level team, any professional team, this amount of room, they will hurt you. They will punish you. Szczesny actually had to pull off quite a few decent saves in this game to keep the scoreline down. But yeah, I mean, it was just terrible. It was honestly today, watching that game, there was nothing good. There was nothing good, apart from maybe Rashford's goal. That was a very, very nice goal. But apart from that, it was just an awful, awful watch. From minute 1 to minute 90, whatever we played, Sevilla were much the better team. They created much the better chances. We allowed them to have the time, the space, the room, all of the acres of space to run into in our half. I just don't know where we go from here, because whatever we're doing right now, this ain't working. You know, this is not the same team right now. It's not the same presence that we saw from Barca. And it's quite interesting because obviously the squad hasn't changed, drastically. We've lost Inigo Martinez. There's been a few tweaks here and there. A few different players in and around the club, of course. We do have injuries, yes. But in terms of the players that were out there today, it's not a completely radically different team to last season. But there's a different mindset. That's what you'd have to say right now. The players are not working. They are not united in the way they're playing. They're not hunting the ball down together. They are not stopping things at source. We are allowing teams to have space. We are allowing teams to pick their passes, make their runs. And that high line, that offside trap, the really, really exposed defence. I mean, we're getting carved open right now. To be honest, PSG could have scored more in midweek. Sevilla could have scored double the amount of goals today. Genuinely, this could have been it's already quite embarrassing, but it could have been 5, 6, maybe even 7 today. That just can't happen. We have to have a long, hard look at ourselves here. We've got an international break. Thankfully, I'll say that. Thankfully now, we actually have 2 weeks of not playing. I don't think we need to play right now. Let's go back to the drawing board. Let's think about what on earth is happening, because I think each and every one of us Barca fans watching that today, we were horrified. We were absolutely horrified by that performance, guys. So please let me know in the comments down below. We have now lost our spot at the top of the league. Real Madrid have overtaken us again. What did you make of that performance today? What is going wrong, and how on earth do we go about solving this? What are the fundamental problems that we are seeing with this team right now, guys? I will catch all of you soon. We will have to talk about this more. We won't really want to, but we will have to talk about what on earth is happening. So thank you indeed for making it all the way here, for making it right until the end if you have. I take my hat off to you if I was wearing one. But yeah, thanks for the support, guys. Sorry about this game. Sorry about going into the international break in this way. But hopefully, somehow, we will find a way of bouncing back. I will catch all of you soon. But until next time, as always, Vasca, El Barça.